One Lectric, two Lectrics, three Lectrics. That's right, guys. I got the brand new Lectric 2.0. I'm not going to tell you what color or style. You'll have to follow a little further along in the video to see that. But if you want to skip all the boring stuff and get right to the good stuff, then continue watching the whole video. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, down below in the description, I'll put timestamps to different segments in the video. So if you guys want to jump directly to a part, make sure you guys check that out. Now, a lot of you have been asking for this. A lot of you have been wanting my opinion on this bike. However, I couldn't really give it because I didn't have the bike. Well, now I do. Lectric was nice enough to send me one of these out for testing and review. So thank you, Lectric, for that. But we're going to get into this thing today, unbox it. We're going to do a detailed overview of the bike, see what's all included. Then we're going to charge it up, take it for a test ride, and get my first impressions on the bike. Now we're going to see over the next few months if it's going to hold up to the durability and the fun of the original Lectric XP and the Lectric Step-thru, which they came out with last year. And we're going to see if it was a good choice for them upgrading to this for an extra $100 or if they should have kept the $899 original Lectric bikes. If you guys want to see behind the scenes footage and previews before my next videos are released, make sure you're subscribed to me on Instagram. And also I wanted to mention real quick, put down in the comments below if you were one of the lucky ones to get one of these bags for $8. I had the affiliate link on my YouTube community page. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube with the bell notifications on, make sure you are, because a lot of times I'll post on my community page deals that I find, because I'm always searching for different deals and buying different things for my bikes and stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribed. So let's get into the good stuff. All right, guys, so here's the brand new Lectric Step-thru 2.0. Initially, right out of the box, the one thing I noticed, obviously, is that it has smaller tires, and I'm not gonna lie, they are a little smaller than I thought they were gonna be, but they're supposed to be better in handling with the smaller tires than the big 4-inch tires, so we're gonna test that out in some of my riding and see if it's a lot easier to control. One other thing I noticed is just overall, even though the frame of the bike is just as big as the original version, this thing just seems like it sits a lot lower, probably because the smaller tires, it just sits a lot lower to the ground. So that's going to be really nice for some riders that didn't feel comfortable on the older version, especially with the Step-thru, the newer version. You're going to have a lower seat height and just overall lower ride to the ground. Now, one downfall to that is that I noticed that the pedals did seem just slightly lower to the ground than the original one, maybe a ½ inch or so. I'll have to measure that and let you guys know exactly what it is, but I didn't have a problem on the original version, so hopefully there won't be a problem with the pedals being just slightly lower on this one either. Now the back rack, it's definitely a lot thicker and a lot heavier duty. Now they have the nice mounting bolts here for you to be able to bolt a basket to, and mounting holes in the front. But we'll go over all that in the detailed overview. Now Lectric does have me some accessories coming for this, so whenever I do get them, I'll put them all on here, show you guys how they function, and let you guys know which ones I like. Now the battery on this thing comes with a 9.6 amp hour Samsung battery. Now, even though it's a little bit lower in amp hours than the 10.4 of the original bikes, I believe that a Samsung cell is a lot better quality of a cell depending on which one they used, but it should hold up a lot better and hopefully get the same mileage, if not maybe even more than the original 10.4 amp hour batteries, but we'll see. I had a few guys comment on some of my other videos about them doing a range test with these batteries, and it seemed like they were getting really great mileage out of them, so that's something that I'm going to be testing out in the future as well. So make sure you guys stick around for that video if you want to know about that. And let's see what else, what other things right off the bat. Oh yeah, the front suspension. I'm really excited about testing that out. Overall seems pretty good here, but I'm really impressed with the lockout on this. It doesn't feel like it's like a mechanical lockout. It might be a hydraulic lockout, which is really nice. I really like the lockout and the adjustability on this side for your preload. I'll have to play with that and see how many clicks of adjustment you have there. Overall, just really nice looking, just like the original bike. And like I said, I'm going to be testing this thing out over the next few months here to see how it fares compared to the original one. And the tires that came on mine, I'm not sure if they're going to be doing the CSTs anymore or both, depending on availability, because as you guys know, parts right now are limited on what they can get and what they can't. But this bike here came with the Chow Yangs with the Dino Skin nylon and 3mm rubber breaker, so that's nice to see that they have the rubber breaker in them. Not sure exactly how good they're going to work as far as puncture resistance goes, but I haven't had a problem on my original ones the way that I ride, and I don't see myself having a problem with these. Now, if you're in an area that has what they call goat heads, I guess they're called, thank God we don't have those here, but I've seen a lot of people a long time ago have issues with those. So now also with the bike, you get your user manual, you get your quick start guide, and you also get the 2-amp charger for charging the battery. Now, they do not give you any toolkit. One thing is, you don't need a toolkit for this bike when you first get it, to open it up and unbox it and to get it assembled, because it comes completely together, which is amazing. There's nothing that you need to put together to get this thing going. However, you do need tools to adjust your brakes and things like that before your first ride. You should definitely check them. Probably going to need to adjust those. So I do recommend getting a decent little toolkit. I'll leave down below in the description a link for the one that I recommend, a couple of them, if you guys are interested in those. If anything, you need at least a 5mm, I believe it is, to adjust the brakes. So that's one thing that I think that they should at least give you. Maybe in the future would be something, even a cheap set. It probably only would cost them a few dollars to throw it in here, would be a wrench for adjusting your brakes. So let's get into the details and specs about this bike while I let this thing charge up. Then we're gonna go ahead and take it for a ride. So let's take a look at the brand new Lectric Step-thru 2.0 from one of the fastest growing e-bike companies in the past 2 years. With them selling over 75,000 bikes in the past 2 years and going from 5 employees when I first purchased my original Lectric XP about 2 years ago to over 50 employees now, we're going to see why this has been one of the most popular e-bikes out. So let's get into the details. So up here on the handlebars, they're using the same hand grips as the original first 2 bikes. Now the grips are a little bit stiff, so those are one thing I will be upgrading to a foam silicone grip. For the new control pad here, they have a new design that seems to be a little more waterproof, that controls the M5 display that they used on the original bikes. Now, one thing nice about these handlebars is they are about 25 inches wide, which is about 2¼ inches wider, which gives you a little bit of room for some accessories on there. And with the wider grip, it seems like it's a little easier to control the bike. Over on the right, we have a half grip twist throttle with a 7-speed Shimano thumb shifter, same as the original bikes. And that comes down to the Shimano TZ500 7-speed 14 to 28 freewheel using the entry-level Shimano tourney derailleur. Following the KMC chain up, it leads you to the Pro Wheel cranks and the Welgo aluminum folding pedals, which are attached to the 52-tooth chainring. For stopping power, this bike's using a set of Tektro mechanical disc brakes on 160mm rotors. Now, it would have been nice to see them upgrade these to 180mm rotors, because the calipers seem to be pretty close to the spokes on the front, and in the back, the adjustment screw for the back pad is really hard to get to using a regular Allen wrench because of the motor. This bike's sitting on a pair of 20 by 3-inch Chaoyang tires, which have dyno skin nylon plus 3mm rubber breakers in them. And one thing I noticed is this bike just seems to sit a lot lower to the ground with those smaller tires and the redesigned seat post tube. The minimum seat height is 30 inches on this bike, which is about 1 3/4 inches lower than my original Step-thru, which is going to make it really nice for shorter riders being able to touch the ground. However, the only trade-off is the pedal height from the ground to the bottom of the pedal is about 1/2 inch lower on this bike than the original. Coming up, we have a new style headlight that's different from my original XP and seems to be a little bit brighter. You have a mount on the front to mount a basket or a front rack, which is really nice, and an adjustable stem coming up to the handlebars. And on the back side, they have a newly designed rack, which is heavier duty and capable of holding more weight than the original bikes, with a wider opening in the front and a redesigned frame to allow you to store a water bottle or a folding lock onto the water bottle mounts attached directly to the seat post tube. On the back, there is a tail light, but it's not a brake light. That would have been nice to see a brake light for added safety. And for the seat, they used the same seat as the original bikes, which in my opinion is a little too hard for me. So I'm going to be replacing that for a softer seat and definitely a suspension seat post, which I will have links down in the description for. To power this bike, they're using a 9.6 amp hour Samsung battery and an 18 amp controller to power the 500 watt geared hub motor. Now, it would have been nice to see a slightly larger battery, but at least they used a good quality cell that should last a lot longer over time. I mean, hey, what more can you ask for under $1,000? So now one of the most important features of this model compared to the original, and what many people have been asking for, is the suspension front fork on this bike. It has a very nice hydraulic lockout on the right hand side, and on the left hand side it has a preload adjuster. Now keep in mind the manual seemed to be a little bit wrong when it was mentioning how to adjust this fork, but I believe on the left side is a preload adjuster and on the right side is the lockout. So now we're going to see if the battery's fully charged. We're going to hop on this thing and see what she'll do. Now I do have a video that's going to be coming out of what I did to get this thing ready for its first ride. So if you guys aren't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and turning on those bell notifications so you get notified when that video is published. All right guys, over here on the brand new Lectric 2.0 Step-thru. Oh yeah, that front suspension's nice. So the first thing I noticed, guys, is that the rotations on the pedals for the PAS sensor to pick up is almost one full revolution before it kicks in. Now you can go into the settings and adjust that. It comes factory set at 3. You can adjust that down to 1 so that you have less revolutions before the PAS sensor picks up. That'll engage the motor faster. So I'm gonna go ahead into the settings and turn that down to 1 just because I like a quicker response. Some people might not like that because it might initiate before they are ready for it, especially if they're not used to riding an electric bike, but I'm used to it, so I'm going to go ahead and in there and change that. And another setting that I noticed that's really cool about these bikes that are different than my other bikes is that there's a setting in here, P10, that disables the pedal assist sensor, and you can go in there and change that now. Before they didn't let you change that, at least with my other bikes they didn't. Maybe they changed it at some point and I didn't know. If you guys do know, put it down in the comments, but you can go in here, I'll show you, hold down the plus and minus button, that puts you in the P settings. Now your P10, it comes at 002, which is pedal assist and throttle active. You could put it down into 001, which is only throttle active. It's still not going to be active in PAS 0. The throttle does not work at all in PAS 0 no matter what. That would have been nice if they could have included that, but that's okay. PAS 1, you can see the throttle still working, but my pedal assist is no longer going to engage the motor. So essentially hold the throttle where you want and pedal as much as you want, and it's essentially an unlimited PAS. You don't, even though you don't have your different levels of assist, you can just pedal as much as you want, hold the throttle as much as you want. The only downfall is you have to hold the throttle wherever you want your level to be. But that's awesome that they included that feature, because that basically gives you a throttle only feature, kind of like if it was throttle in PAS 0. But like I said, it just eliminates your PAS levels. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on for now. So again, that's your P10 setting. To do that, you want it in 001. Now they do have a 000, which I believe disables the throttle altogether, but we're going to go back to 2, and then we're going to go in here to my P11. Hold on, I got the manual right here. It's nice that they actually include the P settings in the manual now. In my first manual there was nothing in there. This is a nice little bungee neck, guys. I'll put that down below in the description as well if you don't have one. But here's the P settings that you can change. So you could change the backlight display, distance, sleep timer for the bike to shut off, tire size. This was not changeable in my bike, which I don't know why they have it in the manual as it being changeable, but you can see here, P6, it is not letting me change the tire size. So that's kind of a bummer. If my speedometer is off, there's nothing you can do about it. Don't know why they locked that now, because on the last bike that my wife got, it was unlocked and you could change it to fix your odometer. Maybe they got the odometer dialed in now and you don't need to change it. That's something that I might have to test later on. So the P10 settings was the one I was talking about, where you can either make the throttle inactive, PAS inactive, throttle active, or both active. So that's a cool setting. Speed limit's P08. If you want to unlock it, we'll do that later on. What's the other one I was looking for? Oh, PAS sensor, P11. So P11 is the rotations on the cranks. The lower the number, the faster the cranks are going to engage. So you have 1 to 24. It comes factory set at 3. I'm going to put it down to 1 so that you have less rotations on the cranks for it to engage. And then we're going to go ahead and do some speed tests. All right, guys, so now it's about a half a pedal before the PAS sensor kicks in. So that's nice there. It's definitely a lot more responsive there. All right, so now the first thing that I know you guys definitely want to know about this bike is about the 3-inch tires. So that's the first thing we're going to go over. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to wonder, you know, are the 3-inch tires better than the 4-inch? Should I sell my 1.0 and get the 2.0? I'm not going to really make that exact decision for you because everybody's different and everybody is going to be looking for different things in a bike. I'm just going to give you my opinions on this bike, and then you go from there. If you already have the 1.0, you already know what it's like to ride. But I love the 4-inch flat tires. But I got to tell you, I mean, these ones here, I haven't had any problems. I'm just going back and forth. They do actually, they say that it's supposed to be a little bit more maneuverable. And in combination with the front suspension, one reason it's going to be more maneuverable is because you could put more air in your front tire, because you don't need that cushion of your tires being a little bit lower, the 4-inch fat tires, because that used to give you a little cushion on bumps. You could keep a little more air pressure in your front tire now because you have that front suspension, and you'll still get the cushion of the front suspension. So that's going to increase your mileage for one, because you have more tire pressure and less rolling resistance on your tires, and it's going to be easier to maneuver because you have a smaller footprint. The only downfall to skinnier tires is if you're riding on sand or stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit harder. But I mean, even with the 3-inch tires, it should be plenty for most people on loose terrain like that. But we'll go up and hit some gravel and try it out in there. I doubt anybody's always only riding in like sand and stuff like that. Most people are going to be riding on the road, and the 3-inch tires, in my opinion, are plenty. And especially for, you know, an older person that has trouble controlling the bike or is a little bit intimidated by the bigger tires, this is definitely a nice trade-off to be able to go with, you know, not a super skinny tire, but kind of an in-between. Would you still consider this a fat bike? I mean, I would say it is. The maneuverability and the handling does seem really good. The only difference is if you do lower that back tire pressure to give you a little cushion in the back, because this seat is still very uncomfortable in my opinion. Like I said, I'll put a link down below to my Cloud9 seat that I use, and the suspension seat post that I use, going to be the exact one I use. A lot of people comment and said, oh, the Cloud9's not that comfortable. There are many, many, many different Cloud9 seats, and the one I use, I will put, like I said, in the link below. It has the hole in the center, and it's not the solid seat. I've tested both of those. I went to a store and seen all the seats there, and the one that doesn't have the hole, in my opinion, is not anywhere near as soft as the one that has the hole. So I wouldn't get the wrong one if I were you guys. And I mean, the Cloud9 might be for you, it might not be, but for me, I really like it. So that's one thing I'm definitely going to be upgrading on this bike, is the seat. It would have been nice if they could have incorporated just a little bit softer of a foam in the seat, because these seats, initially they'll feel good for the first few miles, but trust me, they're not that great. Let's see what else. Suspension wise, so far, let's go hit some bumps here. Let's try the suspension out. You seen that one I hit in the beginning of the video, but yeah, it definitely is a lot smoother. I should put my suspension seat post in here to make it even a lot more smoother, but definitely going to need some kind of suspension in the rear though, so I definitely recommend a suspension seat post. The only reason you would not want a suspension seat post is if you want to sit lower to the ground. If you're super short and need to touch the ground, that you're going to gain about, I think it was like 2 or 3 inches with the suspension seat post. So that's the only time you might not want to get one, but other than that, I definitely recommend it. And if you guys haven't seen my initial accessory video with the suspension seat post and without, make sure you guys check that out, because I did a really good comparison in my first Lectric XP of no suspension seat post and then a suspension seat post, and you can see a huge difference. So let's try to hit some, or there's some loose gravel. Let's go through here and test it out. This stuff's really loose. I mean, I didn't have any problems through there at all. Yeah, I didn't have any problems through there at all. Preston on his Kent. That's a nice kid's electric bike, by the way, guys. If you're looking for something for your kid, check out the reviews we did on that. I think there was like 2 videos on that. All right, let's go through this gravel. Bump. Gravel. Yeah, I don't have any problems at all with these 3-inch tires going through loose gravel like this. So I would say, I mean, other than like sand or looks, I would say that there's no problem or issues going with the 3-inch tires. All right, guys, so now we're gonna do a speed test in all the PAS modes. So PAS 1 is about 8 miles per hour. And it says 8 on the bike and 8 on my GPS, so that's right on. PAS 2. And I'm not putting any effort into the pedals, I'm just rotating them. PAS 2 is gonna be about 12 miles per hour. 12 miles an hour on GPS. So I'd say 12 miles an hour on PAS 2. PAS 3. Around 16 miles an hour. PAS 4. 20 miles per hour. And let's go into PAS 5. And 20 miles per hour. So that's odd. That's really odd that 4 and 5 are exactly the same. So maybe when you unlock the speed, that's the only time that PAS 5 is any different. So you got 8, 12, 16, 20 basically. So essentially 4 PAS levels unless you unlock this thing. So let's go ahead and unlock it and we'll see what we can get this baby up to. Well, first, before I do that, let's do throttle only. I'm in PAS 5. Let's do throttle only and see what we can get. $20 miles per hour on the money. 20 miles per hour and on throttle only. All right, so now let's unlock this thing and see what this baby will do. So go into the P settings, holding your plus and minus down. Go into P08. And in the manual, something I want to mention is it says 32 or 45, which is how the old bikes were. This one only gives you the option of 32 or 100. There's no in between. So 100 will be your unlock speed and essentially 28 miles per hour, but I doubt it's going to do that unless you're really, really pedaling. But you're going to run out of pedals with these because of the freewheel that they use. So we're unlocked now. Let's turn it off and back on just to make sure. I'm not going to go through all the PAS levels again. They're probably going to be pretty close to the same. Let's go into PAS 5 and see first what throttle only can do. So right around, depending, I got wind blowing at me, so about 22 miles per hour. So that's pretty good, guys. That's not bad. Now this battery's pretty full. Once the battery depletes, I doubt it's gonna go that fast, but I hit 22, almost 23 on the bike's display. So that's pretty good in my opinion. Now let's try PAS 5 pedal assist. All right, here we go, guys. $22, $23, $24, $25. 26. All right guys, so on a very long straight stretch, you might be able to hit 26, but you could see, I don't know if you could see my legs pedaling or not, but they were moving pretty quick. So if you plan on going at higher speeds, you're gonna wanna update the freewheel like I did in my freewheel update video on my 1.0 to something like a 11 to 28 or 34, I believe it is. Let's see, I've seen some people say that when you quit pedaling, it takes a while to shut off. Let's see. Wow, yeah, that took a long time, that time to shut off. Let's check that out again. Let me turn this down here. Okay, motor's engaged and just shut off. Engaged, just shut off. So, yeah, it does have kind of a delay shutting off, guys. I don't know what's going on with that. Sometimes it's more delayed than others. Let's go down to a slower speed here. 1, 2, almost 2 seconds. Let's try this again. Stop, 1. Yeah, sometimes it's longer than others. That's weird. I mean, I'm used to it. I could always just pull the brakes. And the brakes, by the way, guys, do work pretty good. I don't have any squeal since I adjusted them. I think that front one might be... See? Whoa, what? It like took off for a second. Maybe I spun the pedals a little bit? I don't know. Yeah, just... That's what... being that I turned the pedals down, I must have spun them a little bit and it kicked in. So that's why some people might not want this on that setting. So just keep that in mind. You might not be expecting it and it might take off. Let's go over and try this bike on some hills and see how it does. Come on, bud. Oh man, they tarred and chipped this. Dang it. That is the most, I hate when they do that. They put tar and chip on this road and then you got loose gravel everywhere. I don't know why they do this. This was all brand new, fresh paved last week. Oh well, let's try it out anyway. All right guys, so I'm gonna come up this hill here. This is about a 12-degree grade. Up in here, it's about 12 degree. So we're gonna see how this thing comes up that hill with throttle. Let's see what our battery's at. So I'm already down to 50.8 volts, just riding around here. How many miles did I do? 6 miles total on the bike. I'm down to 50.8 volts. So let's go to current here. And I'm gonna try mostly throttle only. We're gonna see how it does. Now, I have it unlocked and I'm in PAS 5, so, whoa, see that loose gravel? Let me get over here in the center. I hate when they tar and chip things. So, pretty good power so far. And it's dying down. And I'm gonna start pedaling. Current's maxed out at around 18 to 19 amps. But pretty good power. Same as the original bikes. I would say same as the originals. Now this does have an 18 amp controller in it. I actually took it out to verify. There's an 18 amp controller, which is nice. Does seem like it has pretty good power. All right, let's hit some of these bumps. Oh yeah, I could still feel it in my butt. The front's nice. The front's nice, but the back's not. So, ooh, definitely gonna need a suspension seat post. All right guys, a couple of things I wanted to mention about the suspension. Now in the manual, it states that this is actually an adjustment for your suspension here. It's not just the lockout. So if you want it softer, have it there, you know, and as you get this way, it gets harder until eventually it locks. Now that's nice to see. I thought it was just gonna be just a lockout on this side. However, I'm not sure the manual's 100% right. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Put in the comments down below, guys, if you've messed with these and know. But it does feel like that does make a difference as you turn it. But in the manual, it also says that this side it basically doesn't do anything. That's what the manual says, but I beg to differ. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I think that this is your preload adjustment because you can turn it. You have about 8 to 10 clicks there, and you can adjust the preload for when you sit on the bike, you know, how much tension it has on the spring that's in there. basically. I mean, I'm assuming there's a spring in there. I'm pretty sure there is. That's normally how these systems work here. There's a spring and then hydraulic fluid and sometimes hydraulic dampener and stuff like that. But I believe this does have a preload adjustment on it, so you might want to play around with that. If you're a heavier rider, you might want to have it cranked in, or if you're a lighter rider, have it cranked out. Maybe it doesn't make a difference like the manual says, maybe it does, but I'm assuming it does, so maybe the manual's wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen something wrong in the manual. Just like when you set the level to unlock the max speed, there's no 45, it goes straight from 32 to 100. So I didn't ask them. Maybe I'll reach out to them and see, but there might be a preload on that side. But anyway, it is a nice lockout system. It seems like it's a hydraulic lockout. It doesn't seem like it's like banging or anything when you lock it, and really nice there on the suspension. All right guys, this video is probably getting pretty long now. I'm just going to go over quickly some of the differences on this bike, but I'm going to do a more detailed video side by side with my other Step-thru, the original 1.0 version, or however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it now. I just want to go over a few of the key differences that I've noticed right off the bat. Other than the rack that's different, it's more heavy duty, there's no bar here, and it gives you more of an opening here the way the frame's designed, because on the other one it comes to a point right here and it doesn't allow you to put much stuff down in there. They give you water bottle cage holders there that you can mount a water bottle holder there and then put your water bottle right down through here, which is nice, or a lock. So a lot more storage room in between here, which is nice. That's a nice design there that they changed. The rear rack actually sits lower on the Step-thru model 2.0 model. I believe it's around 2 inches lower. This seat height here, for the minimum seat height, I'm gonna have to measure it. I'll do that in the next video, but this seat height here is about 2 inches lower, I believe, than my other Step-thru. So that's something that's, you know, really gonna be a big deal for some people that are shorter riders. Let's see what else is really noticeable difference other than the front suspension, which I'm sure you guys already know. The 3-inch tires. So as you can see from my initial ride, I don't see a problem at all with these 3-inch tires. I think they're gonna do good. And I mean, if you look at them not next to another bike, they don't look bad, you know what I mean? But when you put them next to the 4-inch fat tire bike, they look way smaller. That's why I was really surprised when I took it out of the box. I was like, whoa, those are way smaller than I thought they would be, because I was opening it up next to my other bikes. But when it's sitting here by itself, I mean, it looks good. It looks good. It makes the whole bike actually look a lot smaller. Even though the frame's not, it does make it look a lot smaller. Oh, down below, I noticed they put a little piece here to stabilize that, to make that stronger. I know on my XP, my first one I bought, that bracket was a little bit bent. They still use the same kickstand. It would have been nice to see an upgrade there on an adjustable kickstand, because I still feel like this bike, I mean, I guess it has a pretty decent lean on it, but sometimes it's nice to have an adjustable kickstand depending on where you're going to park it. Hey guys, one thing I wanted to mention is these pedals do sit about a ½ inch lower than the other Step-thru, the original one. So when you're going around a turn, you're not going to want your pedal down on the inside of the turn. If you're going around an inside turn, you don't want to pedal. You want to keep your pedal up like this. If you're going the other way, you want to keep your pedal up like that, and then just use the throttle around the turn. Because if you're pedaling around the turn, you're going to want to be careful, especially if you're going fast. But if you're going around that turn, you really don't want to be pedaling or putting your foot down. I mean, even on the original 1.0, you really shouldn't be doing that, especially if you're wearing flip-flops or something, which I don't recommend on a bicycle like this, on any electric bike. But if you're going around a turn and your foot's down and you angle it too far or something, you might catch a toe and really mess your foot up. So just keep that in mind, guys. Don't pedal around the turns. Keep your leg up that's on the inside of the turn. All right guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna be making a few other videos. Put some comments below, let me know what you guys think, if you have any suggestions. I already filmed a video for basically what I did for my first ride, with adjusting everything, adjusting the brakes and everything. So I'll be putting that video out for sure. Make sure you guys are subscribed if you want to see it. And definitely gonna be doing some more videos. So thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.